Oh, we have an election coming up in 53 days.
That's quick.
I'm so excited. I love Election Day. I wake up, I feel empowered.
Yeah.
Because people in other countries, they don't have these freedoms to go and vote and have your voice be heard. I mean, it's a time when, you can sit there and complain all year long, all 4 years, but that's your day to make your voice be heard.
That's it.
And on the ballot this time around is this fair tax initiative. And with that, we welcome to the program Todd Maisch, President and CEO of Illinois Chamber of Commerce. You hear his ads here on AM 560 as well. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. It's great to be here.
So, first of all, and you guys know John Anthony. You two are.
Yes.
Yeah, John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir.
All right, so tell us about this fair tax initiative and why we should vote no.
Well, I hope that you are using air quotes every time you say fair tax amendment.
Because it's fair tax.
Because we believe it's anything but. This is really just a doorway for not just this General Assembly, which is frankly ethically challenged, but a generation of General Assemblies to go ahead and be as creative as possible in raising your taxes. So just a few examples we'd throw out there is that, yes, there is a proposal that will go into effect that the legislature passed over our opposition and a lot of other people's, that will go ahead and for the first time have escalating income tax rates. But after that, excuse me, this General Assembly could go ahead and change those rates. They can raise taxes on individual businesses. They can raise taxes on individual industries. They can raise taxes on types of revenue as a result of this amendment. So they can target not individual, but groups of taxpayers through this amendment if it passes as is.
And Todd, this isn't something new. They just repackage it and call it something different almost every time they're trying to pass this. Progressive tax is what it really is.
Graduated tax amendment. Right. It should not be called fair tax. And excuse me for saying that. It's a graduated tax amendment. What have they done in years past?
But Todd, you and I mean, we both know, they talk a lot about the 3%. The 3%. It only affects the 3%. But let's go back to 2011. We know that the original flat tax was 3%. It's now 4.95%. So that middle income bracket has already been taxed prior to, 2 or 3 times now? I think that's the message. That's one. I was talking with Andrew Nelms from Americans for Prosperity yesterday about this because I knew you were coming on the show. And where's that part of the message so that people can really understand just how taxing this will be upon them, not just now, but in future generations?
Yeah, so I think the really important thing here is to recognize that this is really bad for small businesses that get taxed at the individual rate, and it opens a door to all sorts of additional taxes because there's not nearly enough money, even in that top 3%, to satisfy all of the spending desires down here in Springfield. The top 20% of all income taxpayers in Illinois pay 2/3 of all income taxes. So that means that 80% picks up only 1/3. And when you look at the top of the people at the top do pay more, people at the bottom do pay less. So it's really, really important to know that we're already saddling the top 20% of earners with 2/3 of the tax burden, and there's still not enough money there. They're going to come down into the middle class. There's no doubt about it. The last state that went down this road, Connecticut, which is a blue state as well, started out as talking about a millionaire's tax.
Right.
7 years later, they're taxing people at $50,000. And if you want to say $50,000 is the rich, well, then go ahead and make that case. The Illinois Chamber and a whole lot of other people are going to say that's not the case.
All right, so why wouldn't Governor Pritzker yank this off the ballot since, oh my gosh, hardly any revenues coming in because of the draconian lockdowns because of COVID? And I sat in press conference after press conference where he was asked that, and he really didn't give us a clear answer because I don't know if the ballots have already been printed, which plausible deniability, but it just makes no sense at this time in our history.
I would agree. I can't. I'm not going to try and attempt to speak for Governor Pritzker. Actually, Governor Pritzker is a pretty good guy. He does reach out to the business community. I wish he would listen to us a little more often, and this is a perfect example that this is a small business tax that's going to hurt job creation. I suspect he kind of knows that, but he's just marching ahead because that's what he campaigned on. But I think that the die is cast. The votes are going to be made on this, and it's dangerous. I like our position in opposition, but only if we really educate enough people. Polling that I've seen is that the public is now just waking up to this issue. Obviously, a summer dominated by COVID-related news really kind of crowded out efforts on both sides.
And
to make
riots.
their case. And riots, yes. But I think now we're back to a traditional post-Labor Day focus on the election. And now I think people are really going to sharpen their focus. That's why it's really important that if you're opposed to this terrible tax policy, that you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your colleagues, you talk to your fellow taxpayers, and let them know that this is the tax man coming for them. This is not simply sticking a bill for higher spending with somebody over there that makes a whole lot of money.
Well, Todd, what about the independent survey where it shows that this amendment disproportionately affects women and minorities?
Yeah, and when we put that out there, and with some help from our members and allied organizations, the two industries that are really out there, healthcare and hospitality, and anybody can look this up on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Both those industries hire a larger proportion of Black and Latino workers, and they're the ones that could be hurt the most. So if you look in the healthcare industry in particular, you look at hospitals, not only hospitals, but hospitals own an awful lot of physician practices. So those two things together hire disproportionately larger numbers of people of color, and consequently, when you look at the value, the high net worth individuals, admittedly, in healthcare, they're going to go ahead and scale back on what they're able to do or move their practices out of state where they're going to pay lower taxes. Hospitality is obvious as well. I think we all know that there's a higher proportion of folks of color in that industry.
Yes.
And again, businesses that want to grow, survive, or have already been successful, they're going to make similar decisions, and that's the results of the study.
And Todd, I don't think we can emphasize enough what this bill will do. This will remove the voter from any consideration when it comes to how the specifically the Illinois General Assembly, will tax in future generations. This means no more. It'll never come back to the ballot to determine if the Illinois General Assembly can have this power. How important is that? Because here's the question. Here's my question: would you give your house keys to a burglar?
Well, this General Assembly in particular, we all know about the ethical questions,
yes,
at the very least, that are out there. But yeah, you're right. So some of the things we're talking about today, that's just what we've come up with in the last 6 months. Think about future General Assemblies that have years to come up with schemes to raise taxes, to make it as easy as possible to go ahead and get into more and more people's pocketbooks. There's no doubt about it. And here's one thing that I wanted to go ahead and emphasize that not enough people talk about, is that the fact that there's not only it opens the gates for higher rates for individuals, it also allows the General Assembly to get to eliminate the prohibition on more than one tax on income. Right now, the Constitution gives you a protection that says that dollar of income is going to get taxed one time. You may think the rate is too high, you may think the rate is too low, but you get one tax on net income. This eliminates that protection. That means that just gives you just a roadmap to whatever people that want to raise taxes can come up with. Public safety surcharge, a public debt assessment, whatever the heck it is. It just is a gateway to higher taxes. That's really, really important. So if you don't want to be targeted by future General Assemblies for specific tax increases, you've got to be opposed to this.
So it sounds like it would make it easier to tax retirement?
Retirement income, I will admit, there are people who are making that argument. We wouldn't necessarily lead with that because we think that there is the ability for the General Assembly to tax retirement income now. Would it make it easier? It probably would make it easier, but we're not leading with that. We would say that if you're somebody that's in the financial industry, you're much more likely to be targeted for an assessment. If you're in, you got carried interest, you're lucky enough to have carried interest, you're going to get targeted like the Chicago Teachers Union always wants to do. Or if you're a real estate investor, rental income could easily be taxed at a higher rate to fund affordable housing, for instance. So the retirement income issue I know is a potent one, and there's a case to be made, but for us, the Illinois Chamber is not leading with that.
All right, Todd, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
No, I enjoyed it very much. Have a great show.
Very informative. President and CEO of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Council Financial is synonymous with great rates, low closing costs, and phenomenal service to the thousands who have completed purchases and refinances with us since 2002. Hi, my name is Barry